The housing crisis is increasingly becoming a pressing concern, not only in urban areas but also in rural communities across Canada. In Neepawa, Manitoba, the situation has been particularly challenging as well, especially with the continuous influx of newcomers and the affordability of housing. In most of our interviews with local groups working with newcomers and the newcomers themselves, they have raised concerns about the affordability of housing, highlighting the urgent need for action. In response to this critical issue, a Neepawa chapter of Habitat for Humanity was established in Neepawa in March of this year. Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping low-income working families achieve strength, stability, and self-reliance through affordable home ownership. To kick off their efforts, the Neepawa chapter held an information session in April, bringing together various stakeholders, including local government representatives, businesses, and community organizations. The goal of the session was to discuss the housing challenges facing the community and explore potential collaborative solutions. John Lavich, the chair of the Habitat for Humanity Neepawa, gave a presentation to the Rotary Club of Neepawa on May 8, 2024, to explore possible partnerships with the Rotary Club. To officially start the program, the selection committee organized a community information session on June 17th for their prospective applicants and others who would like to get involved. The formation of this chapter marks a significant step toward ensuring that all residents, regardless of their background, have access to safe and affordable housing. With continued support from the community, Habitat for Humanity Neepawa is poised to make a real impact in the lives of those facing housing challenges.
All right, I think we're going to get started here. Thank you everybody for coming to our first Neepawa chapter, Habitat for Humanity. But anyways, I'm just going to introduce Steve Cron. He's from the Winnipeg chapter, Manitoba Habitat and for Humanity, and Christina Falk.
Yeah.
She's our new liaison for Steve. Steve was our guy before, but Steve's moved up the ladder a little bit. Christina's in now, so she's going to hopefully help us out with everything. She will, I'm sure. And from there, I'll introduce you, Steve, here to start his stuff here. So.
Excellent. Thanks, John.
Thanks.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming here this evening on, really, it's a perfect night. And we're all inside. So we won't be all evening. So hopefully the nights are starting to get, the days are starting to get longer. So might even be a little bit of sunshine, possibly, before the meeting comes to an end. So, but this evening, do want to tell you a little bit more about Habitat for Humanity, what we're all about as an organization, introduce our organization to your town, maybe sometime soon to be a city. And so really excited to be able to do this. I will admit that you have been on my personal radar for a long time. We need to be in Neepawa. There is affordable housing need, requirement for the citizens of this town, and Habitat is part of the solution. We are not the answer to everything, not even close, but we can be a part of the solution, of a housing solution for any community, any neighborhood. And we think we have some things about us that are rather unique and can draw a community together. And while some might say, well, you only build a house or a couple houses, how is that solving it? But it becomes more of a snowball effect as people become aware of the housing issues or housing challenges in their neighborhood, Habitat becomes part of that solution of people coming together. And with Habitat, you see a really tangible result of, hey, if we put our effort into this, there is now a house on that street. And we knew that family that was living in, let's say, difficult or challenging housing situation. Now they're living in a brand new home, and their payments are affordable, and they're able to plant seeds in the community and are able to contribute to the various activities that make each community that we're in special. So today I'm going to introduce you to the broader organization, because Habitat is quite a large organization, and I'll give you a few of the broad strokes of what we're all about. And then move down to talking a little bit more about what we're doing here in Manitoba and locally. And then I'm going to pass it over to John, and he's going to talk a little bit specifically about the Neepawa chapter, and then we're going to open it up for any questions that you have. So as I'm talking, or as John's talking, oh, I want to know more about this, there is going to be an opportunity for you at the end to ask those questions. So the organization, I'll say at the international level, it was founded in 1976, so 48 years ago, by a couple named Millard and Linda Fuller. And they were a very wealthy couple that spent some time in Africa and were moved when they saw the conditions, the housing conditions that people were living in, came back to America and had this idea of, we need to do something about housing. And so they went to a place called Koinonia Farms. It was led by a person named Clarence Jordan, and in that place they started to develop the ideas, the seeds for what eventually would become Habitat for Humanity, which started in 1976. Over that time, we've served over 10 million people. And we aren't currently, but have been over the years in over 90 countries where we've operated and built housing. The work that we do can vary depending on the location. Mainly in North America, it is new home construction, but in some places, new home construction isn't necessarily even the largest challenge that communities are facing. In some third world countries, advocacy has become one of the large things that they do, even for landowner rights, because the idea of having title to land isn't something that is known all around the world. That is not necessarily a common practice around the world. There's many places where people are living on land where there is great insecurity, where it could be in a flash, the blink of an eye, be taken away from them, the place where they might be currently living. So in some places, communities like that, a large part of the work that we do at Habitat is to advocate for landowners' rights. We have a program, and it was suspended during COVID, but it is just starting to get going again. And this is something that I would highly recommend to any of you if you are wanting to do tourism with more of a volunteer focus attached to it. We have a program called Global Village, and that program will be getting going in Canada very shortly again, and has just been getting started again in the United States. Basically what it is Habitat sends out teams to the various places that we work around the world. And so let's say you're saying, oh, I'd like to travel the world a little bit, but also do a little bit of good while I'm traveling. We have teams, for example, that'll go down to a place like Costa Rica for a 2-week building period. Maybe 10 days of the trip might be for actual construction, and then you might have 4 days, and I think you can even extend it if you want to do more touristy type things. So it's an excellent program, and you can see how houses get built in different parts of the world. So Habitat is around the world, but we are also here in Canada, and we have 45 different affiliates spread out across the 10 provinces, and I think we're in 2 territories as well. Habitat Manitoba is one of those affiliates, And our territory, actually, it's a bit of a misnomer because we aren't just in Manitoba, we also have parts of northwestern Ontario that form part of our territory that we operate in. So we could potentially operate as far east as Dryden. We currently don't have a chapter there right now, but we do have one in Kenora. So our territory is quite large, all of Manitoba and Kenora right now. And we have a lot of things at Habitat Manitoba that we're really proud of. So the first Habitat home was built here in Manitoba in Winkler back in 1985. The first affiliate in Canada was formed in Winnipeg in 1987. Have any of you heard of the Habitat Restore? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. The store was formed in Winnipeg in 1991. It's now a store that is in various countries around the world. In North America alone, gross revenues from Habitat Restores were over $600 million. And so restores are basically, they are a social enterprise. They're a way that, so at a restore we accept used and gently, or new and gently used materials. Typically building materials, but you can find other things at a restore as well. And so the profits that we make from the restore, we then take and put towards covering our overhead costs. So that, you know, for example, my salary, in order to travel out here and in order for us to have an office in Winnipeg, the restore, the profits that we make from the store go to cover those administrative costs. What we want to do is maximize donations that come into our organization, that we can put as much of the donations that come in directly to our housing program instead of to our administrative and overhead costs. So restores have done an excellent job, and we're the envy of a lot of nonprofit organizations because we found such a successful model, and it also is right in the sweet spot of what we already do. We're already in housing, and we found a social enterprise that is in the business of providing housing materials and housing goods to the general public. So the first store was created in 1991 here in Winnipeg, and it spread because it was a good idea, and an idea that that people can feel good about, because, you know, when they make a donation, rather than it going into the landfill, their donation is getting repurposed, and you know, people tend to be thrifty here in Manitoba in particular. We like a good deal, and so we get a good deal by shopping at the restore, but then we know that we're not only helping the environment, we're getting a good deal, and the money that I paid to buy that product is going to assist in affordable housing in the province. So it truly is one of those win-win-win type scenarios. So you can't, I'm going to say a double negative, you can't not know about what is going on in housing to a certain extent if you listen to the news at all. Housing is being talked about by mainstream media all of the time here in Canada right now because it is a major issue. It's a significant challenge. The federal government, in the budget that was just released a few days ago, housing was one of the top priorities and something that they are attempting to address, something that they're is something that has become a major political issue between the various parties of how the affordability of housing is to or can be addressed in our country. And make no mistake, I've been doing this for quite some time, and it feels worse than it ever has as far as housing in this country, the affordability for just someone who is wanting to own a house to get into the market. It's more difficult than ever. And certainly that varies from market to market. And usually when we hear on the news, they're usually mentioning Toronto, where I believe it's now 1.1 million to buy a basic house in Toronto. Vancouver is a very similar situation. So they often the media often focuses on those two major metro markets, but it is something that is spread to all of the provinces. And certainly Manitoba isn't immune. While we are one of the most affordable provinces, we've still seen tremendous increases in the cost of housing. And basic supply chain rules, there is a lack of supply of housing. There's more demand than there is supply, and not enough houses are being built. And so, if anything, the problem is only going to get worse. As we bring in new people into the country, as costs of building goes up, as we have a shortage of trades, they're saying that compared to many other professions, the trades is a profession that's seeing a lot of people that are going to be retiring in the next few years. And so there's a lot of headwind as far as when it comes to housing that is making the problem more challenging rather than less challenging, which is why the government is trying to step in and do what they can. But it is a large and complicated problem. All right, if there's any takeaway from that, one thing I'd want you to remember is the Fund for Humanity, which is like the secret sauce that makes Habitat so successful, and one of those charities that has lasted over the test of time for 48 years and is in strong position to continue. Fund for Humanity, it's a simple concept. Basically, when we start a housing project, we make sure that 100% of the funds are raised for that. So it's either through fundraising or through debt financing, which we will take up on some projects. We'll take on some debt in order to build through government funding, and then also from homeowner mortgage payments. So 100% of the home is, we have the cash to build that home. Once the house is complete, then the homeowners start to make their mortgage payments to us. They have a 15-year mortgage at Habitat Manitoba, for example, and as they make those mortgage payments, those payments then get recycled back into the Fund for Humanity, which will allow us to build more homes. So it turns into somewhat of a snowball effect. So as we build more homes, that allows us to build even more homes in the future. Now, certainly inflation has an impact on the pace that we can, at which the snowball grows, but the concept basically means that over time we're able to make a bigger and bigger impact over time. And one way to show that would be on a smaller scale. So for example, we have what's called a chapter, a Habitat chapter, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in Portage. And they have now built 12 homes. So they have 12 families that are making mortgage payments that, let's say on average, are about in and around $1,000 a month. So that's $12,000 a month of revenue that's coming into the chapter, times by 12 months. It's $144,000. Basically, after a little more than a year, they're able to build another house with no further fundraising, just through the mortgage receivables that are coming in. So that is part of the power of the Habitat program that I think a lot of people like that aspect of it. It's sustainable and grows over time. So just quickly taking you through how the life cycle of the Habitat program, and it doesn't flow as neatly as this, and it can go in different order, but typically when we're wanting to build, first thing that we do is we search for a piece of land because we need to build on something. Around the same time, we might begin the family selection process, which is a very refined process that we have developed over the years, which involves us testing applicants based on their need for housing, their ability to pay a mortgage because they need to be able to take on the responsibilities of home ownership, and their willingness to partner. So do they have they bought into the Habitat idea of volunteerism, for example? One of the requirements that we have of our families is that they have to do 500 hours of sweat equity, which isn't volunteerism because it's more voluntoldism, because it's part of the contract that prior to moving into their home, they have to also invest their own sweat into either directly the construction of the home or assisting habitat and fundraisers or various activities that we do. So that's how we determine families to get into our program. There's a bunch of criteria as far as they need to be employed. They need to have income within a certain range, not too low, not too high. Kind of the Goldilocks principle on that. There needs to be at least 3 years since a bankruptcy. So I mean, their credit can't be in horrible shape. Basically, we're wanting to set them up for success. We don't want our families to fail and that we've put them in over their heads, because there is a requirement. Once they move into that home, they are making mortgage payments to Habitat. They are the owners of that house, like anyone else on the street. So around the same time as we're selecting a family, we're going to be fundraising, and that's a typical thing that you'll see of charities, except for Habitat, it's a little bit, compared to a lot of other charities, it's like we're a charity on steroids, because a bake sale probably isn't going to get a home built. Our costs have gone up significantly. Certainly all of you are aware of inflation, in particular in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's hit the construction industry really hard. John can probably speak to that pretty well. The price of lumber in particular, at certain points in the past few years, went through the roof for plywood and various other building materials. And certainly trades labor has gone up, and so the cost of a house is quite expensive. And so fundraising certainly needs to be a part of it. The traditional fundraisers are great, and bake sales aren't bad. It's just that can't be the only way that we raise funds to build a house. So fundraising in the local community is one thing we do, with businesses, individuals, organizations, and then we also look for grants from various granting agencies, and then we also look to both the provincial and federal government, whether they have any grants, and that's ever shifting. The types of grant programs that are available through either the province or the federal government. Then we get to actual construction, home building, and that's where it's a combination of where we're looking for volunteers. We'll take people that haven't ever swung a hammer before. We'll also take tradespeople that are willing to volunteer. And then everything in between. And then on top of that, there's certain aspects of construction where we're actually contracting it out. We are paying like any other builder to make sure that the house is wired and the electrical is done properly, and plumbing is done properly. There's certain aspects to a build that are more conducive to professionals doing than volunteers. And so our home building, though, our timelines are probably similar to a lot of other builders. We're typically in anywhere from 6 to 10 months. And some chapters choose to take even a little bit longer, just because of the way that we like to work with our trades, perhaps in the off season, in order to get a little bit more favorable rates. And then once the house is complete, then we sell the home to the family at market value. So we get the house appraised, and they will pay for the same amount that if the house was to go on the market. And you go, well, where's the advantage? The advantage is in the terms of the mortgage. So there is no interest on the mortgage for the life of the mortgage. The mortgage is a 15-year mortgage. No interest, there's no down payment requirement. So down payment is a significant barrier for a lot of families to get into housing. So we have no down payment requirement. And we also then base their mortgage payments on their income. So as they make more, they pay more. If they make less, they pay less. That needs to be separated, though, from the selling price of the house. The selling prices of the house is they're paying market value no matter what, but their mortgage payments might be more or less depending on their income. And so for some families, that might mean that they're making the minimum payment, which for Habitat Manitoba is $720 a month. And then for other families, they might be making more like a $1,500 a month payment. And it's totally dependent upon their income. So I'll just go really quickly through this. So the payback of our program, and certainly the payback for our homeowners also almost as self-evidentary as far as, you know, that they're, they have stable housing, they have a new house, so it's not going to be subject to breakdown, to significant repairs. It's a durable house, it's energy efficient, so that their heating costs, which quite often for families is a big challenge if they live in really leaky old houses. The houses that we build are energy efficient, and their energy costs should be pretty low. So certainly there's those obvious things. There's less likelihood of mold. There shouldn't be any mold in a Habitat house in a new home, but quite often the housing of the families that we're accepting into our partnership, there quite often is mold that they're living in, which has a disproportionate effect on children and their health. We find that the children of homeowners are more likely to finish high school, more likely to go on for post-secondary education as well. There's stability that's built into the family. We actually find that families in the Habitat program are more likely to have better employment. And I think that just all, and you go, well, how does that translate to their job, like by having a house? Well, I think it stems around this idea that it's not like a house is in isolation to everything else. A house is kind of a hub for everything that happens in your life. And so if you have more stability in your house, if you know you're going to a safe, warm house in the evening, and if you know predictably what your payments are going to be on that house, you're more likely to be stable in your own life, which can translate also into more stability in other aspects of your life, such as your employment, your ability to further educate yourself, to improve your wages and that sort of thing. But beyond the benefits that go to a family, I think the community really benefits. Towns and cities and governments recognize that having a family that is in a home, that has planted roots, they're more likely to contribute back to that local economy. They're more likely to go to the restaurants in that economy, or go shopping at the local home hardware or the local co-op. They're more likely to be investing back into that community. They're certainly paying their taxes. So part of their mortgage payments that a family will make to Habitat will take a portion of that, set it aside, and pay their property taxes on their behalf every year. So property taxes are being made. So there's a steady source of income coming in at the municipal level. On every home that we build, we're paying GST and PST. And one of the things that we've advocated at Habitat at a national level is, why are we having to pay GST on the sale of new homes in the affordable housing environment? Because we have to, so the homeowner does make the GST payment, but they make it over time. They make it over the 15 years of the mortgage that they have with Habitat. But Habitat, the day that we sell that house, the government requires their GST payment to us, or to them. And so we're making significant GST payments to the federal government on the sale of new homes, and certainly on the purchase of all materials. GST and PST we're paying. On top of that, the property taxes and education taxes. So there certainly are a lot of contributions that are being made back into the community. We're also finding that families are more likely, when they have stability, are more likely to volunteer perhaps on the local parent-teacher association, or give back in other sorts of ways in coaching or whatever it may be. So in the end, I think it's a win for the families, but it's also a win for the community. That expression of, how does the expression go? The high tide raises all boats. I think that is actually true also with affordable housing, is as those who maybe have been forgotten when it comes to the possibility of home ownership all of a sudden have that opportunity, I think everyone ends up benefiting. Cool, so that brings us to Neepawa Chapter. So one of the cool things about Habitat is it's grassroots. I mean, we're international, well, we're also hyper-local. And we have 11 chapters across Manitoba and in Kenora that are carrying out Habitat Manitoba's mission of building safety and affordable housing for low-income working families. And Neepawa is our newest chapter, which I'm just so excited about. You have now the opportunity as a community to carry forward Habitat's vision, providing affordable housing and being part of that solution for your community of affordable housing. So with that, I am going to pass it over to John to talk a little bit more about the local stuff.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Okay, getting back to our Neepawa chapter, I back it up. I was shopping for a dishwasher, and I was in the local store, and Marilyn came along, and she was talking, and Marilyn says, you wouldn't happen to know somebody that wants to start a Habitat. I'm thinking, yeah, right. So Marilyn left. Aaron and I talked for a little bit, and we said, well, you willing? I said, I'm willing. Are you willing? He goes, yeah, why not? So we talked about it, and then that day, I think, I emailed Steve and said, I talked to him for a while on it, and then Marilyn, I got back to Marilyn. Marilyn said, yeah, we're ready to, we'll help out. And she said, well, I'll talk to Steve. And I said, oh, don't worry, I've done it already. So that was the start. Led a couple more meetings. We got the chapter running, got up and running. There's a charter we have to do and everything like that. So we got that going. Then we decided, well, we just can't do it ourselves. We have to get other people involved. So we figured, put our heads together. We thought, well, first thing is we have to get a promotional or advertising, sort of financing, selection, and so I thought, well, there's a couple people I can ask. So first one I thought of was Heather Toderick. I went and asked her, and she said, yeah, I'd do that. So I said, well, you want to be the chair? She goes, absolutely, perfect. So the next ones I went was Jim and Shelley Graham. They're on the committee, and Mo and Bert Ficoni, they're on the committee. So that's the committee for the finance, or not finance, but the fundraising on it. So that was the start of that. Then we had to think, well, who are we going to get to do the selection committee? Well, I thought, well, Amanda. Pretty good at that. So when asked Amanda, and Amanda said, yeah, I'd be up for that. So Amanda Nottingale is our chair for the selection committee. Don Walmsley is on there too. And Chad McCharles and Marla Steen. So they're going to be our selection committee. They have to go on a day course basically in Winnipeg to see how they do the selection, and then they're going to go out and start taking applications. Basically is how that works, I guess. And in the meantime, we're going to try and get the word out. We're started. We want to get going on this. We have to collect funds. We have to do a lot of advertising, get everybody informed. So that's why we're here tonight, to get, if you guys tell 5 people, the word's out. And access is here, and we're glad they're here. We can get that out in different ways. Just read here a little bit. So the other thing, there's a couple things that we've started already. We've been in talks for land. We're in negotiations with it. That's all I can say about it. We're in negotiations. It's a good thing, so we're just waiting the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll find out what's going to happen, and but it's hopefully going to be a positive thing for us. So, excuse me. So
Sean, can you just mention the timeline, so like the fundraising and then the build?
Oh yes, okay, all right. So, yep, so our fundraising, what we're going to be doing, we're starting that now. That's what we're doing. Fundraising, you can go to Habitat Manitoba, Habitat for Humanity Manitoba. Click on it, click on chapters, go to Neepawa, click on Neepawa.
Make sure you do Neepawa.
Yeah, make sure you do Neepawa. And then there's
the money a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. And then there you can click on the donate, and there's a whole thing there how you can donate to it if you want to donate for monies toward it, or if you want to donate time, or if it's a corporation wants to get involved. Same thing, you can get in contact. And then also you can get in contact with us. There's no problem. Any one of us we can talk to you about it for sure. So that's going to be this year. We're planning on getting all our monies together, and for this year and then next year we're going to do the bill. So it's going to be a tight timeline for sure. It's like you said, there's you've done one like that, but it was tough, but
That's right.
we're going to do it.
You got a good team. You have a good team.
We're going to do it. So I think the first one's going to be challenging, but I think it's going to be fun. It's something like I was telling somebody today. I said, everybody's involved in the communities. Everybody's got their own things going on. They're playing sports, their church, whatever. They're volunteering something, but it's for a group, just a small group. This is for the town. This is for our area. Our area also, we haven't said this, our area is the Neepawa area, Neepawa, Minnedosa, Gladstone, Carberry. That's our area. We have a big area to pull from. And we can get all our volunteers locally, or we might do a build here. Maybe we'll do a build in Gladstone or Carberry another year. So it all depends on how everything works. So so we're excited about it. We think it's going to be a fantastic thing. What better way to give back to the community, to help another family, get them to through a tough thing. I think it's a great way of doing it. So, what else do I have here? Basically, I've said it all. The one thing I wanted to sort of close with is how better of a way to make yourself feel good than help somebody else. So that's the way I feel about it. I think everybody does. You always feel a lot better giving a gift than getting one. So let's do it as a community and make it work. So anybody have any questions for Steve?
What kind of house plans do you have?
Okay, so the house plans, that all depends, that goes along with the selection committee, with the selection of the family. We have to find your family first that needs that we select, and then we build the house to them. Like let's say it's a single family with 2 kids sort of thing. Obviously, you're not going to need as big as a house as somebody with a whole family with 4 kids. So it all goes in total.
And are they always single detached homes? Have you ever done duplexes to make the dollar
Yes.
go further?
There's been duplexes done. I think you've done in Winnipeg. You've done 8 plexes, you said.
Right now, the most we've done is 5.
Okay, all right.
Does that make sense if we're?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what about lawyer fees, land transfer taxes? Are those, would a lawyer in town waive their fees for these people? Is that something that's?
I don't know. Are there any lawyers?
Yeah. And then obviously the government hasn't got rid of that darn land transfer tax, so.
They have not. No. So lawyers' fees certainly are part
Well,
of.
that could be something to ask the lawyers.
Exactly. And that's the way that a whole community can help. Like a lawyer can do that up, or we can build it, or
Right,
painter can come in.
and what is the warranty on a new build? Like, say something goes wrong, or is it just follow suit as a normal build
It's
that
as
you
a
would build?
new build. It has to be up to
Yeah.
code, just as like a new build. Yeah.
And what is the limitation if something happens and they need to sell? Does it directly just go back to you and then they lose all their money that they've put in, or how does that work?
I'll take that one.
You take that. I'm a listener.
I'm out.
Because situations happen, right, where somebody needs to get transferred, or there's just
Yeah, we're not gonna force them to stay.
Yeah.
Whereas they needed to move to Alberta.
Right.
Like, no, you can't, you're good.
Right.
So in the first 10 years, Habit has the first right to buy back the home.
Oh, okay.
And we would buy back the home at, not at market value. It would be based on how much they had put in as mortgage payments. That would be the buyback minus any repairs that we need to do on the home. After 10 years, they could sell in the open market if they want to.
After 10 years?
After 10 years.
Interest free.
And you can buy your home within that 15 years, anytime within that 15 years, the family can.
Well, why would you, except for.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But
to give back, yeah.
yeah, to give back if you're, okay.
And that buyback, I think I'll add to that, in that first 10 years, it just prevents that idea of flipping, you know, where,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes,
Which could
yeah.
easily become a thing. So it kind of protects habitat, it protects the program, but
Yeah.
also helps the family, yeah.
Yeah, because we want to honor the volunteers and the donors that have been there.
Yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
go, "Well, I just built that home, now it's for sale?" It's like,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And also, there's tax donations, a taxable donation receipt that you can get for anything that you put into it. Like for a corporate or a business that wants to put in money in, you get a tax.
Yeah, so all cash donations, there would be a donation tax receipt. If it's materials, there can be is by CRA is considered gift in kind. We can give a tax receipt based on the value of the material. If it's labor donation, let's say an electrician donates their labor, we can't give a tax receipt for labor, but it can be done through a check exchange. So if they invoiced us for the labor, let's say it was $2,000 of labor, we would pay the $2,000, and then if they make the donation of $2,000 back to us, then we can give them the receipt for the cash. That has to be all done, otherwise CRA could audit us. And our charitable status number is one of our most sacred things.
For
So
sure.
we gotta maintain that. Yep.
And what about furnishing the home and all those other things? Are those extra things that is part of the donation piece, or?
Fridge, stove, washer, dryer, is what we put into the homes.
basic
And air
appliances.
conditioning. And then beyond that, it is their responsibility.
Okay.
And usually the houses are, you said, around 1,000 square feet? Per
1,000-ish, yeah.
1,000-ish for a house.
That would be kind of the.
Well, I'm living it here, I don't know or anything like that. But our speaker today is John Lavich, and he's with Habitat for Humanity for the Neepawa branch. And John has lived in this area for practically all his life. Most people know him, except some of the newcomers may not. And rather than listen to me talk, I think the information you want comes from this gentleman. So, John?
Thank you. I don't know if I'm going to stand here or up there, but as you know, I'm John Lavich. I've been in the area for pretty much all my life. Just took a couple years off and went elsewhere in the world, but I owned a business in town and in the area for 37 years. I was a general contractor. I built many houses and different buildings all over the place. So it was a fun business sometimes, but it was good. It was good. There is a few things how we do things. Well, first of all, we have our one more page here. Or we have a steering committee, and the steering committee, how we start things is just the nucleus. We do all the paperwork and get things going. So on our steering committee, we have Marilyn Crew is our secretary. She got us into this, so she had to come along. And then we have Aaron Vandenbush is our treasurer. along with Marilyn, with Marla Steed. She's our treasurer too, and I'm the chair of it. So I try and keep everybody informed and point them in the right directions and keep things going with everything. So, and then one of the most important ones is our settlement committee. They select a family, and how we select families is we're going to be starting up a information meeting here shortly to get people involved, to see if there's people want to be part of it, into the selection of getting a house. And there's a few, I'm not going to get into the particulars about it, but there's a few things you're financing, you're trying to improve your family, home life, you're trying to improve the safety, just trying to get a jump up on life, and to have your own home. So head of our that one is Amanda Nottingale, is our head chair on that one. And there's a few people on there. Don Walmsley is another one that is going to be on that selection committee on it. So another really important one is our fundraising, and our fundraising and our promotional. Basically, we have Heather Toderick is our chair for that one, and we have Jim and Shelley Graham and Mo and Bert DeConey on that. So we're trying to make a really good nucleus of people and from all walks of life to be able to help us out on it. So the selection committee is going to start right away. We need to get that going because we need to know what the family looks like, how big of a house. Our maximum house that we do is about 1,000 square feet, but that's just on one floor. We can do the basement, finish the basement off, depends on what the family needs. So we need to find that family fairly quickly, and that's about a 6 to 8 month process. So we're going to start that right away. Our build is going to be start building in 2025. So this year for fundraising, it's going to be all fundraising. We're going to be going out trying to promote how you can help out different committees or different organizations, personal or businesses. There's time you can put in. There's so many ways you can do on the time thing. Like you think that we're going to build a house, and you need all people that need to just help out with building a house. No, we need food, because there's going to be committees. There's going to be, when we do the houses, everybody gets fed. We need safety. We need equipment. We need building materials. We need everything. There's so many ways you can help out. And we also need monetary value too. So there's so many ways you can help out with it that way on it. So to go back a little bit with the family selection, and everybody has a idea that the family gets this house. They don't get the house. They pay market value on the house, but the bonus of it, they don't have to pay a down payment, and they don't pay interest on their loan. It all goes through Manitoba Habitat, so it's just a helping hand. And then what they do is they pay a minimum of $750 a month, and it depends on their value of their monies they bring in. They can only put into a house 27% of their money coming into the house themselves. So we won't we won't ask for any more than that. If there's a couple people in the house that work, all the monies that come in, we're gonna see if we can have 27%. So it might be minimum of $750, but it's gonna go up to how much money they bring in. But that money that comes in goes to Habitat, and then it turns around from Winnipeg, and it goes right back to our community, and all that money goes in for our next build. So every time that we build a house, it just keeps adding and adding. And for instance, Portage right now, in their on their chapter. They've done 8 houses in the last 8 years. And this year they're gonna build a house that they're not gonna have to go out and fundraise. It's all there for them already. So, which is a fantastic way. And how much better is it to be able to help a community or a family? Like it's fantastic. So, and the family themselves, they not only have to pay a mortgage, but they have to put $500 worth of community service or on the house to help because we're not giving them stuff. They have to earn it, and it gives them more it's their house when they're earning it. It's not something you're just giving to them. There's an earn there for it. So that's a bonus, not a bonus, but a big thing that we're promoting. Everybody has this idea that we give houses. We don't give the house. We're giving them an opportunity to have a house. The only reason that they don't have a house is because they probably can't go to the bank and get a mortgage because they don't have a down payment, or they just don't have enough money. And this is just one way to get them started. And it helps everybody right from the community to, kids going to school. And they say the kids, they find with all the houses that we've done and all the kids that we've helped, all these kids are really successful in schooling because it's just bettered their lives that much, which is fantastic. You're just giving everybody a helping hand. You're not only in the house, but the whole family. So that's the gist of how we go about things. Yes.
How do you decide where to build these homes?
Okay, so right now in our area, our chapter, our area is Neepawa, Gladstone, Minnedosa, Carter. And since we've started this here, we're gonna build our first house here, is what we're doing. So we're building the first house here, but our area that we can cover is all that area. So let's say Carberry has a need for a house there. What we'll do for our next build, let's say it's gonna be our next build, is we'll contact people from Carberry, because we know there's people there that are interested in starting up a habitat. They will work under an umbrella with us, and we'll steer them in the right direction to get them going. And plus we can fundraise from there. And when we build a house, well, they build a house there, we can fundraise here too. The money can go there too. So yeah. So yeah.
It sounds like a lot of money to fundraise. What has been successful in other chapters in their fundraising efforts?
Businesses alone, they've gone to businesses, and businesses have been very good about putting up monies towards it, or materials. And then also we have the Restore. Manitoba Habitat actually owns the Restore in Canada, in Manitoba, I should say. And there's a lot of the monies that goes through there that comes in, all this material that comes in, actually pays for all the administration for all these houses. So that's a good part of it too.
But your 75%
Yep.
wouldn't come out of that, would it?
Nope. The money, we're gonna be hitting the streets and talking to different businesses, and like I said, like on an average house, on a 1,000 square foot house, you're probably looking at $60,000 to $70,000 in labor. And I think we're gonna be able to get that from our local trades. And then our land costs. If you find a piece of land that is like you can get for nothing, let's say, that goes towards it. So there's different ways that you can raise money for it, for sure. So Yep.
Will there be an ask for businesses to, when I worked in our Dauphin office, we took a day off at the office and went and helped put out siding.
Exactly. And you can have office or workplace groups come and work on site but that's not for free.
Right.
Yep. So what happens with that is let's say you have 10 in your office you want to come. So you're going to pay, we're going to say you're going to get 10 for the office, you're going to put $100, it's going to cost you $100 a person and so much for helping out. And I can't give you those numbers because I can't remember them. But there is a cost of it. That helps us raise money too and gets the job done. And it's a great way to help get a environment in your work to interact and help each other and have a day off of work that you're helping somebody.
Are you going to be fundraising of actual wanting to give a cash donation from the Rotary Club, for example?
That's a possibility. If all the clubs or any club is in a position to want to help out, you can give a cash donation, or or let's say, and this is because we're starting in sort of mid-year. All the businesses now have basically their funding in place for asks for the year for different committees or whatever. So we can for next year, for the first of the year, like we're going to go to them and say, like, first of the year, you're going to have a new slate on the books. You can say you want to give $5,000 towards it. That goes towards this build for this year too. So it can be a future thing that you're going to give money to. A promissory note, basically.
Excellent. All right. So we might as well start. Thanks everyone for coming out. I don't know if this is even on or if it is picking me up. There we go. I have a pretty big voice anyway, so my name is Amanda Nightingale. You may know me from other places in town, such as the Salvation Army, but I am the chair of the selection committee for Habitat for Humanity Neepawa. The other folks that are on our selection committee is Marla Steen, Don Walmsley, and Father Chad Charles as well. And so we are the folks that will be taking in the application forms. We will be guiding our families through the process of being selected as well. Hi, come on in. We'll get you an application. We're just starting. So we'll go through a little bit of history about Habitat for Humanity. So in 1976, Millard and Linda Fuller started Habitat for Humanity in the community of Americus, Georgia. And that was located in southern USA, and out of the concept of partnership housing. So where those in need get adequate shelter, would work side by side with volunteers to build simple and decent houses. So the Habitat idea and mission has spread over 90 countries around the world, and over 1 million Habitat houses have been built, rehabilitated, repaired, or improved since 1976. So in Winnipeg Habitat for Humanity was the first affiliate in Canada, actually. It was established in 1987 by a group of volunteers. But the first Habitat house in all over Canada was built in Winkler, Manitoba in 1985. And since then, over 425 families in Manitoba and Northwestern Ontario enjoy safe, decent, affordable housing as a result of the organization's efforts. So the mission really for Habitat for Humanity is mobilizing volunteers and community partners. Habitat for Humanity Manitoba works with people from all walks of life to build safe, decent, and affordable housing for low-income working families. Come on in, folks, we're just starting. Currently, this is a little bit older information, but in 2021, Habitat for Humanity had planned to build 18 homes. there are still plans, there is about the same amount that chapters across Manitoba are looking to do. And here in Neepawa, we are looking to do our very first home next year. What happens is we need to actually raise the money in order to build the house. And we need to find a family to be in the home. And so that all takes a little bit of time. So we don't just build the house and then put people in. We kind of do that along together. So please note, Habitat can't guarantee where they build from year to year, nor what type of home that will be built. Habitat in Manitoba really builds anything from single dwelling houses, side-by-sides, duplexes, townhouses, and a lot of times preference is given to families with young children. So home ownership, are you ready for it? So here really is an example of the financial commitment that is required to own a home through Habitat for Humanity. So the estimated monthly housing cost is really based on your income tax of what you, or your net, or your gross amount of income that you have reported online, 1,500, or sorry, can't see it with my glasses, 115,000, line 15,000 of your tax return. That is your gross income for the year. Basically, the way the mortgage is, and this really is a mortgage, so Habitat for Humanity is not a free home. It is purchasing a home with a very affordable way of doing that. And that's why there's a lot of different levels. It says, you know, in our application forms, for those of you who have got it, you know, do you have an income between $32,000 and I believe 96,000 is the upper limit. So that really is, we're trying to help out folks in that income brackets to have affordable housing options. And this really is about home ownership. It's about being able to pay a monthly mortgage to own a home in an affordable way. So your mortgage payment really is, including your property taxes, is really based on 27% of your income. So if you know what your gross income is, times that by 27%, that would be your monthly housing cost. Then there's usually other things, like we've thrown in home insurance, utilities, and then a subtotal. And then if you add all of that up together, that's typically how much your housing is going to cost you a month. So additional expenses to consider in that would be maintenance of $50 a month, your telephone, cable, internet, cell phone, maybe life insurance policies, maybe you own a vehicle. All of those things would be added costs, right, to your monthly cost and your monthly budget. So home ownership. Are we really ready? So if your income is actually below that 32,000, we really recommend that you kind of wait and see if there are ways to increase your finances and your monthly income or your yearly income to reach that 32,000 threshold. It really becomes difficult. There are other options probably out there for you for living and that sort of thing. The other part is that most of the prices of housing is expensive. And so the mortgage that you take out is really the cost of the home that is built. So we're not looking at big, gigantic, huge homes, but new builds are very expensive. And an estimated cost of a house right now to be built in Neepawa is anywhere between probably $200,000 to $400,000, depending on the size of the house. So that would be how much your mortgage would be. So these are questions to be thinking about when you're thinking about applying for this. Am I financially capable of buying and maintaining a home of my own? Am I willing to enter into a long-term investment? So this mortgage, you're really kind of locked in for 10 years. So Habitat for Humanity has a first right of refusal on your home for 10 years in this agreement. So are you going to be in this community for at least that amount of time? Can I save money each month so I will be able to pay for things like insurance, utilities, repairs that might need to be done on a home? Yes, you're getting a new home, but hailstorms happen, windstorms happen. General maintenance on a house will always just happen. And so you definitely need to make sure that you're able to save a little bit of money along the way in order to make sure that you're financially capable of still maintaining the home. Am I willing to take on extra responsibility of owning a home? There's no landlord to call when something breaks down. Are you able to do those things yourself? Do you have neighbors or people around you that can help you out? Can you afford to hire people? And am I willing to live in the same place for a long time and become a part of a new community? If living in Neepawa is kind of where you feel that you're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, then this may be a great option for you. So what is the criteria? So you need to demonstrate a need for improved housing. So are you currently living in an overcrowded situation? Is it too expensive? Is the current place that you're living in, does it have health and safety concerns? Is it in poor repair? Is there a reason that you really don't feel comfortable living there? Those are big questions, and those are parts of what we look for in the application as well. Do you have the ability to pay? So one applicant must be working in your household full-time for at least 2 years at the time of application. So if you were a single parent and you were still on, say, a maternity leave or a parental leave, you wouldn't be able to qualify quite yet because if you're still on that parental leave. If you were off the parental leave and you had been working prior to for a couple of years, and you would then be able to qualify. If you currently are on income assistance through the government or social assistance, depends on how you want to call that. Right now, that would not qualify you. You need to be employed, and one person. So if one person is holding down the fort and watching the kids, that's great. That's employment within the household as well, but the other person needs to be out working and gaining income within that $32,000 to $94,000 or $96,000 a year. So you're, like we said, financially able to manage the responsibility of home ownership, and you cannot be on social assistance. Annual family income must be below the Manitoba government low income cutoff, and that's that $32,000, and must be at least 3 years since a bankruptcy has been resolved. Sometimes financial difficulty happens, and sometimes bankruptcy happens, so that has to be within 3 years of being resolved. And you must be able to make at least a minimum monthly payment of $720. So that really is what that mortgage cost would be on probably your $32,000 a year income. So based on the Manitoba low income cutoff, if you're my $15,000 family income, this is that qualification, 32 to 90, and I believe they've upped that 90 to 92, I think, in my notes. But we'll have to double check that to qualify for a home ownership program. Also, part of the criteria is, are you willing to partner? So part of the Habitat for Humanity outlook and their motto and their model is that homeowners and selected families put in what they call 500 hours of sweat equity. Now that doesn't all have to be at the house. Those sweat equity hours can be just the willingness to volunteer within your community. And there's some hours that can happen for other people, for your friends and family can add to that. 500, it doesn't have to be just one person in your family doing 500 hours. It can be a combined effort through yourself, with some friends and family. But it's really a willingness to forge a positive relationship with the Habitat for Humanity chapter. It's about showing how this is going to really make a dramatic improvement and a dramatic change and impact to your life. And being able to really champion that for, this may be the first family that is getting an opportunity to be a homeowner here in Neepawa through Habitat for Humanity, but to champion that for other people as well, to show other folks within our community who might be able to qualify for this, what an opportunity it is to gain home ownership through this program. Also have to have the ability to attend information meetings and home ownership training classes. There's a variety of things that Habitat for Humanity does for their families, and it's really about setting you up for success. We know that sometimes folks in this income level, things can be really tight, and we want to make sure that people have a good financial literacy, they understand home ownership, and that we're building you up for success to be able to enjoy this home for a long time. So like I said, this is not a free house. This is a mortgage that you take out with Habitat for Humanity. Your house is sold to you at the assessed value. So depending on the size of the house, how many bedrooms it has, finishings, all of that kind of stuff, that really is what the assessed value of that home will be. So again, anywhere from really $200,000 to almost $400,000. And I tell you, I just had some costs come to me about a project that we're doing, and it was way more than I ever thought it was going to be. So building a new home in this economic market might be a little more than what we think it is. The great part of a mortgage with Habitat is that there is no down payment. That I know is the biggest and the trickiest part probably of home ownership anyways, is finding that down payment. The other part is your monthly mortgage, and that is really based on your income. So 27% of your gross income is for your principal and the property taxes. And you pay that back at no interest for 15 years. At the 16th year of ownership, you would be then expected to get a mortgage for the residual amount that is left owing on that house. Very rarely if you are at the very low end of that, if you're only paying $760 or $720 on a $400,000 home, you're probably not going to pay that off in 15 years. So there would be a residual amount, but we hope that by that time, you've been able to save some money, you've maybe gotten a better job, your economic or your financial outlook has probably improved because of the home. And so you would be able to get yourself another mortgage in order to pay off the residual amount. A regular bank mortgage, and this is just demonstration purposes, this isn't how it always is, but at the bank, usually, so a $300,000 cost to purchase a home. Your home usually is repaid over maybe a maximum now is 30 years, but maybe 25 years, 5% interest. Your monthly payments are $1,745. Total payments over the course of that is $523,500, and you've paid almost the amount of the house cost in interest. So the no interest is a huge benefit for homeownership in this program. So no interest for 15 years, and you will have 15 years to build that significant equity in that home. It really is a great way. Go. So the process, how does this all happen? So basically, anybody who is looking to apply needs to at least talk to myself or one of our selection committee or come to one of these sessions to really understand what the process is and really what they're getting into in a Habitat for Humanity program and a partnership. So the process, fill out the application completely. We'll need, if you're currently renting, of course, your landlord and your employer, we need some references. So email, name, address, that sort of thing. We do need a couple of personal references. And again, mailing address, email. Oh, sorry, I didn't update this slide. Please include your 2023 CRA notice of assessment. That is on the application form. But last year's taxes, notice of assessment for all applicants and all adults living in the house who are 18 years old and older, unless they're in school full-time. So if you have adult children living with you who are not going to school, they are also included in the household income. Because if they are adult children living in your home, not going to school, they should be helping out with the bills, right? Those are things that everybody needs to kind of pull together. If you are full-time in school, we kind of, like almost every government program, it gives you that flex until about age 24. In the application, we are also needing your last 3 pay stubs from all of your positions or all of your jobs that you work. So if you work 1 job, great, we just need 3. If you work 3 jobs, we need 3 from each of those jobs. So that would be 9 pay stubs in total. We also need your bank statements and credit card statements from the last 2 months. And then we also need a signed consent form. All of that is in this application package. So you need to submit your application by Friday, July 19th, and again, that is on your application form. Late applications may not be considered. Now, if you have everything except for maybe your last pay stub or something like that, and you just have to get it to us, you know, we can kind of work some of that out, but really we want them completed in full by that date. Habitat for Humanity does check references, and we will do a credit check as well. If you are selected and you go through kind of for next selection periods, you will be required to meet or call with a financial counselor to review your family's finances and budgets. And once all of those references are completed, and if you meet out all of the criteria, an in-home interview is then arranged. So 2 of the committee members will come to your home and answer any questions that you may have and to ask any questions that we may have. This also gives us a chance to really determine you know, whether or not you would be a good partner, a great family that would be successful in this venture. And if your housing, if your current housing situation makes it more inevitable that you need to get out of that situation, that home ownership would be crucial in improving your family's situation. What happens then, after the interview and all of that kind of stuff, the selection committee meets, discusses the applicants, and then makes the recommendation to the Habitat Administration. If that's accepted, a partnership agreement is then signed, and then you can start your sweat equity. You can start your 500 hours right away. Again, late or incomplete applications will not be accepted. However, if there are a couple of things and we know about it, we may be okay with that. But I would say, because there's about a month to get this all done, you can, if you haven't done your taxes already, it's a great time maybe to do that. And then, you know, your notice of assessment really, when you e-file and things like that, really comes back quite quickly and should come back within that time frame. Are there any questions? There's a lot of information there, but are there any questions? So you do need to be a Canadian citizen, and you do need to be, or a permanent resident of Canada for 2 years as well. Yes, Julie?
What are you looking at in terms of a time frame for a build?
For a build, basically, we're already starting on the fundraising portion of that. The house really doesn't get built until we have money to build the house. Part of that, though, is knowing what size of the house we're building. So if we have a family with, 8 kids, we might have to build a little bit bigger house than what we would with a family with a couple of kids. So hand in hand, the quicker that we can find a family that is interested, that is a great fit for the program, then the faster that build can happen. We would love to see, I think as the committee, a house being started next summer, I think is kind of, or next fall, like that sort of thing. We really feel probably a good year of before that would happen, so. Because there's at least $300,000, if not more, that we need to raise within the community first. Any other questions?
Can I?
Yeah, for sure, Don.
Comment? It sounds very onerous. It sounds like there's a lot of stuff there. And there are. There are certain things. Amanda's outlined some stuff, but what we also know is that Habitat has indicated to us that you look at everybody uniquely. So everybody's application will be based on its individual situation. And there is some flexibility with certain things that we've been told. If you're at all interested, then I'd suggest it's worth your while to take a look at applying. Let the process work through. Don't just say, oh gosh, I don't think I'll ever be acceptable. You don't know.
Yeah.
And you certainly won't know if you don't apply. So I really recommend you do that because it can't hurt. And it allows an opportunity because it's a question and answer, like it's a conversation that happens. So when you apply what you say there'll be questions about, okay, either explain it or there's also support mechanisms built in to help you understand how maybe your finances may not look like they can do it at this time, but maybe with some adjustment or some suggestions or recommendations, it can reconfigure so you find out, maybe I do have enough. The nice thing, as Amanda said, is the end of the story is you own your own home. After your 15 years, if I'm correct, if you do not decide to continue with your mortgage, after 15 years it becomes yours, am I right? And so if you turn around and decide to sell it at that point, that's fine. Anytime before the 15 years, that's sort of a different situation. There are different mechanisms involved.
Yeah, about 10 years is when Habitat for Humanity has the first right of refusal. And what that means is that Habitat would buy the house back from you. So they would, there would be an agreement of however much that you've put into the house. Habitat, again, would kind of buy that out from you. And then we would put another Habitat family in there in order to, to take over the mortgage basically for that home. So that way, it just doesn't go onto the market for somebody to maybe flip a house or things like that, but it still helps another family find affordable home ownership within the community within that 10 years. It doesn't mean that you can't, if life changes, like we know that. So it doesn't mean that you have to live in Neepawa for at least 10 years and nothing can change. If life changes in 5, there's still an out clause. It just means that you're not going to necessarily be able to put that house on the market. Habitat will make an arrangement with you to kind of buy it back from you, and then we would select another family to take over that house. After the 10 years, then it becomes a little bit different, and after 15 years, you're no longer, you no longer have a mortgage with Habitat, and so you could sell it. You could do whatever you wanted with that home. It is yours free, not necessarily free and clear if you have another mortgage, but that's that's a whole other situation. And yeah, the application form is fairly easy to fill out. It does ask for a lot of information. It looks for employment and schooling information, employment for the past 3 years for anybody. And if there isn't enough space on there, like use a second sheet or add to the back of the sheet, that's okay. It does look for a list of your monthly incomes, and it does ask for a list of your monthly debts. So we really do want to see kind of where you are financially, and there will be a credit check that is also done in the application form. Again, you must include all your bank and credit card statements with the application, and that also includes RESPs, RRSPs, tax-free savings accounts, other investments that you may or may not have. If you don't have any of those things, that's okay too. That's not a must. It's just ensuring that you are disclosing all of your information. And then it talks about a little bit about the sweat equity, and if you're willing to do that. And then we want to know what your current living conditions are. You know, are you only living in a 2-bedroom apartment and you have 6 people in your family? Are you living in a 1-room basement with 4 of you in 1 room? Are you living in an apartment that is full of mold and mildew and it is really hazardous to your health? Like, those are things that we will take in consideration as well, because we want to ensure that this is also an opportunity to really make a positive impact in the quality of life for your family. Again, we need kind of who your last landlords are, and references as well. And there's a good checklist there, just to make sure that you've got all the things that we need. And then there's an authorization and consent form. Please make sure that you really read that. That is consenting to the credit check, that's consenting to all of the other things that we are going to ask you about through the application process as well. And you can either email this information, you can scan everything in, or take pictures on your phone and email it to me, or you could drop it all off at the Salvation Army, an intention to myself. So nobody else in the Salvation Army should see your information, but my office is at the thrift store, and just ask for Amanda, and just if you tuck it into an envelope, that would be even better, because then nobody else gets to see, would see your information. We want to protect your information as best as we can. Or you can even drop it off in the mail if you needed to, but really, if you hand deliver it, it's probably best, or if you email it to info@neepawa.habitat.mb.ca. Anything else? If you have any questions along the way as you're filling out the information, do not hesitate to give any of us a call. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I'm at the Salvation Army typically all the time. So my phone number there is 476-5869, or on the posters was also my phone number, 212-2560, and that's my cell phone. So yeah, please feel free to, if you have questions. Also, if you feel that you have friends who may qualify, they have until that deadline to come and see me, or Marla, or Dawn, or Chad, and we can give them kind of a rundown of the information that we just shared with you today, and give them an application form. We just want to make sure that people understand what they're applying for. Number one, it's not a free house. This is a mortgage. There are commitments to it. And we want to make sure that you fall within the right income bracket, that you are a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. And those things are really, really important, because that way it doesn't waste your time or our time in the selection process.